Hello everyone, Phoenix Knight here. Welcome to the channel, and welcome to a new playthrough on the channel. We're continuing with yet another new game debut as we're playing Tank on Tank by Lock and Load Publishing. You may remember when I played Tank on Tank Eastfront by Lock and Load Publishing a couple of years ago. This is actually the first game in that world. We're going through armor. There are actually armor and anti-tank units in here as well. But this is a very simple scenario. We're just playing with a very basic scenario of just going head to head. We've got our two tanks set up, or we've got our two sides that are ready to set up. We've got the Americans and the Germans that are about to go heads up, aka head to head. So we're going to see who's playing first. We'll see these two dice a little bit later off to the side of the board. We'll roll black for the Germans, white for the Americans. Whoever gets the high roll goes first. And it will be the Germans going first, so they will get to set up last. That means the U.S. will have to set up first. So the U.S. is going to be coming in from the north, moving south. The Germans will be entering from the south and moving north. They're not going to use... This turn track is what I'm going to be using to track the turn, so the Germans' first actual row is going to be up here. As far as the three dice are concerned, those are the hexes that we will be checking for control at the end of turn 10, assuming the scenario doesn't just end. So let's see what the U.S. want to do here. They've got two Sherman HQs and a pair of Wolverines. So I think if the HQ moves, we activate everything. I'm just going to double check that, because that will also... Let's see the map. I'm just double checking here, but I'm pretty sure the HQs move everything of the same type. Headquarters may allow an adjacent unit to move. Okay. So, all adjacent units may also move freely. Okay. So with that in mind, I think we're gonna split this into 3 units. So the Americans will put a Sherman HQ here, and the way we can tell it's an HQ unit, it might be a little bit hard to see, but what I'm trying to show you in here if the camera ever wants to focus. Actually, you can probably see it back here. But what I'm trying to get at is the underline in here, which that's the way you'll indicate it's an HQ unit. So that Sherman's going to set up over here. We'll bring in a group of Shermans with them. Oh, they've actually got a priest. That's what that is. Then we're going to put a priest over here. Then we'll bring in another Sherman HQ, put those two here. And then the Wolverines will go right here. As for the Germans, they're going to follow similar logic with their Panzer IVs. They're going to move into this city right away. Then this Panzer IV is going to set up over here. Then we've got another... Oh, I wanted that to be a regular Panzer IV. And this Panzer IV moving in here, bringing in a pair of Tiger tanks that are very hard to kill. So with that being said, I think we are all set. So let's jump right into this one. So, okay. So the Germans will be moving first. They're starting from the south, moving north. The Americans are starting from the north and moving south. All right, so the Germans for their first AP, and that's where this marker or this marking over here is going to come in. I'm going to use a die to track how many APs they've spent. So right now both of them are on 1 AP. I'll move the German die down as they spend AP. When I get down here, I'll roll a die to see if the phase is over. But I'll explain more about how that's going to work. So the Germans are going to start off by... What do they want to do here? They spend movement points equal to its movement allowance. And I thought there was a section here. Okay, here we go. So we'll start off with 1 AP by activating this Panzer IV for movement. So he's going to move... So he's got a movement allowance of 2. That's what the green number is on the counter. It's very hard to see because these are small counters. But that Panzer IV is going to move 1, 2. And because we moved a unit, because we activated an HQ, everything adjacent can move. So they'll move... He's going to pivot... Actually, he's going to have to pivot and move into the town for... Actually, does the town cost 1 AP? Cost an extra movement point to enter if the unit's not entering along a road. So actually, let's do it this way. 1, 2. Then fields cost... Actually, a unit may expend an extra MP if all of its movements occur through road hexes. The Panzer IV HQ is not going to move any further. This one will move 1, 2. This Panzer is going to move 2, which probably... Actually, no, I'm going to go with it not requiring that. Action 2, they're going to do the same thing with this group of Panzer IVs. 1, 2, also not moving. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Then for action 3, I'm pretty sure we can only activate a unit once for movement. So I'm just going to double check that. As you may face in any direction. All right, action points. Okay, so we can pivot and move 1 piece. Okay. Looks like... Okay, may always move 1 hex. So I don't see anything about activating a unit for movement again. So actually we are at 2 APs, so we'll roll. So now is where the roll is going to come in since I'm playing solo. I've got my bigger size D6s. I'm going to move these just a little bit. That should work a bit better. So now the German die is moved down to 3 AP, but we're going to see if they get it on a 1 to 2. They do not. That's a 6, so they will get the AP. Excuse me. They're going to activate... they've got a group of American tanks waiting for them. So they're going to move... This Panzer IV is going to move 1, 2... They're actually going to move like that. Then this Panzer is going to move 1, 1... and 1, trying to stay together. 1 to 3, they'll get to move again. Or they'll get to act. Actually, 1 to 3, they won't get to act again. That's a 2, so their turn's over. Now we're over to the Americans. Let's see what they want to do. For action 1, they're going to activate this Sherman HQ. So that's going to move 1, 2... And this Sherman's going to move 1, 2, and 1, 2. For 2, actually, this Sherman could reach the... This Sherman actually could reach this Panzer IV across 2 hexes. Yeah, he could reach it. So I think action 2 is going to be to take a shot. Yep. So action 2, he's going to take a shot, and I think it's for every adjacent unit that we get a +1. It does have to check for line of sight, though. Blocking obstacles are all units as well as hill, town, and woods hexes. So I think that's probably kind of dumb by the Americans, but they're not going to worry about that right now. For Action 2, he's going to activate this. The Americans are going to activate this Sherman HQ. 1, 2, and 3. Then these two are adjacent. 1, 2. 1, 2. Then we'll see 1 to 2. Their turn is over. Actually, oh, that's what that's for. That's a 6, so they get Action 3. They will activate this priest for 1. 1 to 3, the turn's over. It is not, so the Americans will get their 4th AP, which will be 1, 2, 3. And now we're over to the Germans for turn 2. Action 1 for the Germans is going to be to shoot at this. They're going to use this Panzer HQ to shoot at this Sherman HQ. So the Americans moved up, left themselves open, which is pretty dumb. So if the line does not cross, okay. All right. Combat resolution. Add 1 if any of the attacking pieces occupy a hex flanking the target, which they don't. Okay, so we've got a meter beat the defense. The defense on that Sherman HQ is a defense of 9, which that's a 10. So that will eliminate this Sherman HQ unit. That was Action 1 for the Germans. Action 2. This Panzer IV right here. This Panzer IV HQ is going to activate and probably just pivot. So we can actually fire at the... is he going to pivot so he can fire at the Wolverine? Pivot and or move 1 piece. Well, he'll need to move. But I don't think he wants to end up trying to... He definitely doesn't want to end up trying... He definitely does not want to end up leaving himself open. So... Actually, he's already in the open. So he's going to move 1, 2 and get into town. Which will also activate these 2 panzers. 1, 2, and then move to face here. And 1. Getting back there, we'll see if the Germans get action point 3. 1 to 2, they do not. That's a 5, they will. This Panzer IV is actually going to take a shot at this Wolverine. And I believe that doesn't count as Cardboard Commander stopping by. Love watching the playthrough. This is not your favorite. That's fair. It is very small, which is part of the reason why I'm warmer to smaller Hex Encounter. Keep up the great work. Thanks for the kind words, and have a great weekend. You too, Combat Commander. Enjoy your weekend. Let's see. I don't think... Nope, not flanking. So we still have to get over top of an 8. That's a 10, so that'll get past this Wolverine. And the Germans are already blasting through some of these tanks. Possible action point 4. 1 to 3, the Germans won't get it. That's a 4, they will get it. He's going to activate this back panzer for movement going up into that forest. Turn 2 for the Americans. Let's see what the Americans want to do here. Actually, he's going to use this Sherman to take a shot at this Panzer IV, and he will get a +1 because he's occupying a flanking hex. Which that's a 9 +1 is a 10, so this Panzer IV is off the board. Action 2. He's going to activate... He's going to activate this Sherman. 1, 2. Let's see if the Americans get action point 3. 1 to 2, they do not. Actually, he's going to turn there as part of the move. That's a 1. Turn is over for the Americans. So we're over into turn 3 for the Germans. He's going to take a shot at this. The Panzer IV right here is going to take a shot at this Sherman. Gets a +1 because... Actually, I don't think they get a +1 because of flanking. Let's see. 3 are in front. No, he doesn't. Okay, so it's just a straight roll on that Sherman. Which that's a 5, so that won't do anything for that. Action 2, he's going to activate this Panzer IV for movement. That's going to cost 2 hexes in a forest. See if he gets action 3. He does, because it's on a 1 to 2, he doesn't get it. He's going to the Germans are going to activate this Tiger for movement. 1 to 3, they won't get action point 4. They will. The Tiger is going to take a shot at the Sherman. This Sherman right here. Needs a 9 to get through it. Does have a range of 3. That's a 10, which will take out the Sherman. So now we're over to the Americans. Let's see, the Americans are going to take a shot at this Panzer IV. They'll have to subtract 1 from the die roll because of... They'll have to subtract 1 from the die roll because that Panzer IV HQ is in a town hex. That's an 8 minus 1 is 7, so no damage there. Action 2, he's going to bring this Wolverine forward. 1, 2, 3. 1 to 2 doesn't get action point 3. He does not, so we're on to turn 5 for the Germans. Let's see, the Germans, for action point 1, are going to activate this Panzer IV for movement. Moving 1, 2, turning to face here. Action 2, he's going to activate this Panzer IV for firing. He's going to aim at this Sherman and is flanking. So gets to add a 1 to the die roll. That's an 8 plus 1 is a 9. That'll be enough to take out this Sherman. 1 to 2, actually, 1 to 2, the Germans' turn is over. That is a 1, so their turn is over. Turn 5 for the Americans. Let's see, turn 5 for the Americans. What do they want to do here? Well, they've got to force the Germans out of one of these cities. So he's going to activate the Wolverine for 1, 2, 3. Actually, that is very dumb right now. He's going to move this priest over here. 1 to 2, the Americans' turn is over. That's a 5. Moving the priest over here. 1 to 3, the turn's over. That's a 4. Going to use this Sherman right down here to fire. Actually, no. He's going to use the Wolverine to fire at the Tiger instead. Although that's a very high bar to make for an attack. Because he's got an 11 he's got to contend with. Which that is an 11, I believe. Equal or exceed the target's defense. So he will take out this Tiger. Turn 6 for the Germans. Well, that's got to be a big blow to the Germans, losing one of their best tanks to a Wolverine. But the Germans are going to move for action point 1. They're going to bring this Panzer IV. Actually, I think they're going to have this Panzer IV shoot at this Sherman instead. It's a straight roll because it's a frontal assault. Needs a 9. That's an 11. That'll blast that Sherman off the map. Action point 2 for the Germans. They will have this Panzer IV shoot at this Sherman. That's going to be a -1 to the roll because it's shooting into a town hex. That's a 9, which would have been enough, but for the -1. So that's an 8, which means they can't shoot that. 1 to 2, the Germans' turn is over. It is. A lucky break for the Americans here. Let's see. For their action point 1, they're going to... I think it's an action point to just return one of the eliminated HQs. Yep, okay. So for action point 1, the Americans are going to return their Sherman HQ to the map. Action point 2, he's going to activate the new Sherman HQ for movement. 1, 2, 1. Yeah, we'll do it like that. 1 to 2, the Americans' turn is over. It is not. He's going to activate this Sherman HQ to fire at this Panzer IV HQ. -1 on the roll because he's shooting into town. That won't do anything. 1 to 3, the Americans' turn is over. Going to shoot at the... Going to have this Sherman HQ shoot at this Panzer. That's an 8. That won't do it for the Americans. Turn 7 for the Germans. Right now, the Germans would win the scenario. They might be able to win it on elimination outright, though. He's going to have this Panzer IV shoot at this Sherman. It's very much exposed right now. Which is... Yep. Okay. So we've got a 9 that they need to get to. That's a 5. That won't work. Action 2. This Panzer IV is going to shoot at this Wolverine. Only needs an 8 to get over top of the Wolverine. Which an 11 will get over top of the Wolverine easily. 1 to 2, the turn's over for the Germans. For the Germans. That's a 3, so they get action 3. He's going to try again with this Panzer IV, shooting into this Sherman. -1 on the die roll. That's a 6, nothing happening there. 1 to 3, the Germans' turn is over. That is a 3, so the Germans' turn is over. Americans' turn 7. They've got a big problem on their hands. Their forces are getting whittled down here. They're going to start with this Sherman shooting at this Panzer IV. That's a 7. That won't do anything for the Americans. They're going to start with this Sherman shooting at this Panzer IV in one of the towns. -1 on the roll. Nope. 1 to 2, the turn's over. That is a 2. That's unfortunate for the Americans. Over to the Germans, who are going to try to win this scenario by total obliteration. Let's see what the Germans can do with that plan. They're going to start by having this Panzer IV HQ shoot at the... Actually, they're going to... Yeah, they're going to activate for movement first, which is more to activate these 2 units to get them into a better line of sight. 1, and we'll pivot there. Now action 2, he's going to activate the Panzer IV for firing, and I think everyone there gets a shot. That might be something later. So just double checking here. Actually, that would activate everything to... Would that activate everything to fire? Or... Oh, no, when it's just activated for movement. Okay. So, it looks like the... Although there was something about that, I thought. Any number of pieces may fire at the designated target. Okay, so he's going to have all of them take a shot at the Sherman HQ. So he's going to start off with the Panzer IV taking a shot. That's an 11. That'll get rid of that Sherman HQ. 1 to 2, the Germans' turn is over. That is a 2, so the Germans' turn is over. The Americans are facing certain disaster here. For action 1, they're going to bring this priest forward. Then for action 2, he's going to shoot at the Panzer IV. Actually, I don't know if you can see the Panzer IV from there. The forest is definitely serving as blocking terrain, so I think he's got to go through that. He can't shoot at it. So action 2, he's going to move the priest forward. No, he's not going to move the priest forward because that would be incredibly dumb. He's going to move the Sherman here. Actually, that's a Sherman HQ. The priest isn't going to do anything, though. 1 to 2, the turn's over for the Americans. That's a 6. The priest is going to move over here. 1 to 3, the turn is over. It is not. The priest is going to fire at this Panzer IV. Got to get over top of a 9 with a -1 town penalty. That's a 7. That won't do it. Turn 9. What do they want to do here? So the Germans are actually going to activate this Panzer IV for move. 1, 2. That's action 1. Action 2. The Panzer IV is going to fire on... Actually, no, it can't. He's going to activate the Tiger for movement. 1 to 2, the turn's over for the Germans. That's a 3. This Tiger is going to fire at the priest. Needs to get over top of an 8. That will get over top of an 8. 1 to 3, the turn's over for the Germans. That's a 2, so the turn is over. The Americans now have all of 1 tank left against 6 for the Germans. So they are going to need to run the table here completely. This is the other hex that we are worried about in this scenario. Excuse me. So the Americans are... The Americans are going to fire at this Panzer IV with this Sherman HQ. At this point, anything that the Americans do is total spite. Because that Sherman HQ is very much on its own. That won't do anything. Going to fire at this Panzer IV HQ now, because why not? -1 modifier, which that won't do anything. 1 to 2, the Americans' turn, as is the scenario most likely soon, is going to be over for them. Let's see if... Otherwise, check at the end of turn 10. That is a 2, so this is going to be... So this is turn 10 that we're going into. Right now, the Germans are winning the scenario. But they're going to start off with having this Panzer IV shoot at this Sherman, see if they can end it by annihilation. They need a 9 to do it. They don't get it there. He's going to move this Panzer IV. Actually, he's going to use this Panzer IV to shoot at the Sherman. That won't do it either. 1 to 2, the Germans' turn is over. That is a 1, so fortunate for them. But for the Americans, they're going to attack this Panzer IV first. That's a -1 roll. Actually, they've got to activate for movement. Now he's going to shoot. That will take out this Panzer HQ. Then on a 1 to 2, the turn is over. It is not. Action 3. I think control is established by who was last there, wasn't it? And there should be a rule in here about controlling locations. Yeah, I wish this explained how it defines who controls. Movement. I'm thinking it's the... That's about to be a big question, so let me look that up. So hold on. Because right now the Americans' turn is not over yet. If they've at least one unit physically present in that hex. Okay. So... Right. So actually at this point the Americans... Actually, at this point the scenario probably is over. If that's how we're defining the... Becomes unoccupied and thus is considered unoccupied, uncontrolled. Okay. Yeah, it doesn't explain that. Maybe there's another scenario that explains that a little bit more clearly. Oh, controls if you... Oh, actually, for all scenarios, a player controls a hex if he was the last player to move a unit through it. So I think with that in mind, the Americans are going to move... They've still got a turn, so they're going to move 1-2 with this Sherman. And on a 1-3, the turn is over. That is a 3. And shockingly, by turn 3, or shockingly, we're at the end of turn 10, the Americans actually, believe it or not, the Americans actually win this scenario because they control these two hexes, as we define control by being the last side to move a unit into a hex. So by that definition, the Americans actually win this scenario because they were the last one to move a unit in here, and they just moved that Sherman HQ into the city. So by a miracle, the Americans have won this scenario. That'll do it for this playthrough of Tank on Tank. Now, I want to show you guys something. I've actually zoomed in a little ways here to make sure I've got the map, the dice tower, and a little bit of layout on the board. But let me show you how small the footprint for this game is. That's me zoomed out on the board. This table I've got is a 4 foot long by 8 foot wide table. So it's actually a very big table. It does not take up a lot of room at all on a table. So this is something I could see potentially taking into work with me in theory and playing with somebody on a lunch hour if I could find somebody who actually was interested in this kind of game. My experience with wargaming has basically been solo. I've been doing more stuff socially, at least with YouTubers, mainly Jester, but I'm definitely open to more collabs on that now that I'm starting to get the technicals figured out for putting all of that together. And it's been going very well. So, as usual, during the Advent of the Phoenix, I'm going to do cleanup here, and then we're going to crack today's Advent calendar. So, bear with me for a second. Bear with me for a couple minutes while I do cleanup. Thankfully, cleanup doesn't take long at all. See, look at that. Small footprint. Took me probably not even a minute, and I'm already all done with it. So, with that being done, I gotta remember to throw the rule book back in here as well. There we are. The box came to me a little bit smashed, but it's not terrible. At least the box is still usable. Because I bought this game used from Noble Knight a couple years ago. So yeah, the box has clearly seen better days, but it's serviceable. Plus it's not like plus I work for a shipping supply company. It's not like I'm gonna have a problem getting a hold of boxes. As Christoph stops by, seems like a fun little game. Heard about it before, but never seen it played. There's also there's also East Front and West Front as well in this game, Christoph, where the East Front brings Soviet tanks in. West Front is more of the same, of the Germans against the Americans. See, look at that. That's the beauty of Tank on Tank. Very small game. I'm already done cleaning up. And what we're doing now is we've got our advent calendar that we've been cracking. So we're going to find the entry for day number 12, which is right here. We're going to crack this and see what we've got in here. And in here, we've got the D6 from the purple and blue set that we've been cracking. So now we're up to So now we've got the D percentile dice and the D4, along with now the D6 to go with it. So now we're waiting for the D8, D12, and the D20 from that set. So that'll do it for this playthrough of Tank on Tank. There will be more stuff coming later today, but I'm going to hold a lot of that close to the vest. I do have my yearly eye appointment that I've got to get to this afternoon, this morning, so there'll be a little bit of a break before I go to that. Thank you for watching the video. Please give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Be sure to turn on notifications so you get my content. Be well, stay safe, take care of yourselves and your loved ones, and I'll be back with more videos in the future. Until then, take care everyone.